Call the June 6th Planning Commission meeting to order and stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're ready to call the roll.
Allen.
Here.
Bibb.
Here.
Boyd.
Here.
Briggs. Gregg.
Here.
Poole.
Here.
Richard.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
We have 8 present. We have a quorum.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes from May 2nd?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, they will stand approved. Now is the time for our public comment period. Did we have anybody sign up for that?
No, sir.
Okay, if we didn't, then we won't. We'll call that open and closed. Under new business tonight, 2.1, discuss and possibly take action on a rezoning request located at 2121 Woodland Drive from R7 to MRO. Is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
moved.
Oh, we got all kinds.
She can
Motion and a
I'll be
second.
second.
Okay, Kimberly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, this is 2121 Woodland Street. The applicant is Venture 21 LLC. This is for one lot, approximately 2.30 acres. We're looking to rezone it from an R7 high-density residential to MRO, multifamily residential and office. It's located on 22nd Avenue between Woodland Street and Cherry Street. The map number is 091B, Group E, parcel 030.00, the tax maps. Now, you may have known this as the Woodland School Street, or Woodland Street School. They later changed it to the Robertson County Central Office. The building was built in 1924. I'm going to give you a little background of it. And roughly vacated around 2016. So it's been dormant for a while. The existing building is approximately 14,000 square feet. The purpose of the request is an adaptive reuse of the property. So the MRO district is a principal permitted use, and structures allow for both multifamily and commercial use. Now, zoning ordinance section 11-604, minimum development area per dwelling unit and with commercial development area is 4,000 square feet, with 12% of the gross area designated to commercial. The applicant is proposing that the schoolhouse, which currently is there, be converted into 12 apartments. It will add 13 townhomes and roughly about 3,500 square feet of commercial space. Now, staff has reviewed the area and all the comments have come in. There are no concerns from our departments. Now, also we have zone signs up. We've sent letters out to all the adjoining properties, put it in the media, and we have not received any comments at this point. So there were no concerns that were made. The rezone will allow the owner to maximize the use of the property and add quality homes in the area. The department administration have no concerns. That concludes.
Okay, do we have somebody representing the development?
Yes, sir. We have Aubrey Moore here. Yes.
Okay. Do you have questions? Bob?
Yeah,
If it's from me or
no,
if
it'd be, I guess it'd be for Aubrey.
Mr. Allen, will you please call Aubrey
Oh,
to
sure.
the front?
Come on up.
Hello.
Hey Aubrey, how are you? The question I have, and I think maybe some of the others may have the same question, is when you talk about redoing the property, are you talking about redoing the building as it is and convert the building, or will the building be removed and start fresh?
The building will remain, so we would remodel the building, and that would be the apartments, and then the townhomes would be all new.
And the commercial property, the commercial side of it will be existing or new construction?
That's actually both. We would have a new build on Woodland Street for commercial, and then part of the existing building would be commercial as well, facing 22nd Avenue.
Okay. All right.
And I have some renderings as well. I'd be happy to pass around. I think you've got some of those, but just a larger format if that's helpful. I'm happy to also point out there which would be commercial and which would be residential, if you'd like me to.
I'd like to see on
Sure.
paper.
And then you can, I don't think you have that, we can talk about that.
Can't tell nothing about this.
Is the parking area in the front going to be a public parking or just for a private use of the people in the development?
I would assume it would be private for the commercial spaces and also for the apartments. And then the townhome parking is back here.
And-
The middle area, of course, is the existing building, and then the U-shaped parking around the commercial.
And you have parking in the back off
Yes,
Cherry
parking in
Street
the
for
back.
the,
It's for the townhomes. The light gray is all parking.
I know the folks at the Woodland Methodist Church across the street are probably used to parking over in that area. That's why I was asking.
You know, we can take that into consideration when we choose a commercial tenant. Often, parking is still available on Sundays,
Mhm.
so.
Tony?
What, your commercial part, what do you have in mind, commercial buildings, I mean, what business?
We don't have anything particular in mind. We are open to something that might be community-based or helpful for the community in this area, we think could be nice.
Based on the size, it looks like it's gonna be more of a strip-type commercial development as opposed to
We're
be
thinking-
multiple, in the new building that's gonna be built.
Sure, we're thinking just one or two tenants, so it wouldn't be a
In the
strip.
1,800 square feet?
Yes, in the front.
Okay.
And then like, may I just step up to
Sure.
that? That might be easier without the,
Which one you want?
let's choose this one if you don't mind. So this is commercial here, and this would just be 1 to 2 tenants here, and then this would be the other commercial, and it would just be 1 to 2 tenants. So just depending on what the tenant would be.
Is this the school that's being redone?
So that's the rendering of the existing building, so the school. And so
are we looking
this
at that
is
from
what
the
faces-
side?
Yeah, this is what faces the U-shaped parking, so there's kind of that U-shaped parking. So this faces Woodland Street,
Okay.
and this faces the 22nd Avenue.
And this is gonna be 2 buildings,
So
5, 6 in one, and 6 in the other?
this one's a little confusing. This is just an example of what the townhomes would look like. This is a rendering we had for a different street, but this is just a style of what we would likely do for the townhomes. And this would be these here. So it would be, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 together. So it'd be 2 of these together would make one building and then the second building.
And those face out toward 22nd or toward the parking? 22nd.
Or, excuse me, they face 22nd, and then the parking comes back behind.
Right.
and back.
Tony?
Has that building been checked out to make sure it's, you- on the outside looking, though, like it's pretty,
It is pretty rough.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we have
absolutely.
been working on that for quite some time with our.
Do you know as whether these would be homes for sale, or are they rental property, or?
We're planning rental.
Will you have access to Carter Street? I know it dead ends right now into Woodland Street property.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can you show me where that is?
It's the top T.
Oh, okay. No, I don't believe so. We have a tree line drawn there.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. If we've talked enough about this, we'll go ahead and vote.
Briggs,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Bibb,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Townsend,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Allen.
Yes.
Passes with 9.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 2.2, adopting a resolution 2044 comprehensive plan. Is there a motion to put this on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Dustin got the second.
Most of you have already seen the plans. We've talked about this for the last couple of months. Back in June of 2023, we hired Reagan Smith to do our comprehensive plan for our 2044. He has now wrapped it up, and he is here to discuss, Kevin Gunther is here to discuss the wrap-up of the comprehensive plan. Tonight is the adoption of the resolution. Once, if you approve or recommend, it will go to the plan, Board of Mayor Aldermen for final approval on June the 18th. At this time, if you would call Kevin Gunther to the front to talk about the.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Adme. First of all, my name is Kevin Gunther with Reagan Smith. I'm a landscape architect and planner. We also have Robert Harris from our office tonight. He's been involved in some of the community engagement, and I wanted him to be here to participate in kind of seeing this stage of adoption and presentation to you all. So it's been a real pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here tonight with what we think is a well-drafted plan, but it's also been a pleasure to engage with your city staff, with your community leaders, some of the key stakeholders that you have in the community. So I think we've done a good job of capturing the vision that was presented to us. That's what we really try to do. We want to craft a plan that you as a city, you as a community feels identifies your vision. That's what this is. This is a visionary plan. It is not a zoning ordinance per se, but it will shape your zoning decisions, shape your decisions related to infrastructure investments, and even, the message and kind of, if you will, the branding that you want to put out as a city. So once again, thank you for the opportunity. I'll keep this pretty brief. Of course, the document itself is well over 100 pages. We can certainly dive into whatever details you'd like, but I'll just kind of give you a quick flyover, and then you're free to, I'm happy to stay here as long as needed to discuss it further. What I have out here in front of you is probably the culmination of this document in a map, the future land use map. This includes not only what's in your current city boundary, this includes what's in your future growth area as well, so that as you annex properties, as you look at growing, it puts a shape of some type of land use to that area as well as what's currently in the city. It creates several districts that are different from your zoning district. They're really more general characteristics, but I think we've identified a few things that are kind of new to the city, and I'll tap into that a little bit. As far as the economic recommendations that we made, I'm just going to touch on 3 very quickly. One is to keep expanding the professional services, the retail, technology, education, and healthcare sectors of your economy. You've got a strong manufacturing base that has diminished somewhat, and at this point in time, it would be advisable for the city to make sure you continue to improve those other sectors of the economy. Things like the TriStar Medical Center, the Volunteer State College, those are real assets that you'll want to continue to invest in and encourage. This does two things. It diversifies your economy, but also you have a lot of commuting going on, people that commute into the city and people that also commute out of the city. And as you diversify your economy, it starts to strengthen, your job base within the city and hopefully increases the amount of residency in the city. The other thing that came out loud and clear was that your downtown is a jewel. You want to continue to strengthen your downtown. That includes expanding your commercial core to the south, and we're going to say that if you look at the map and you zoom in on your downtown, we've expanded what we kind of call your downtown area a little further down Main Street, a little further north along Main Street. And we think that expands the opportunities for your downtown to grow, which is what we heard is very important. And another thing related to the economic recommendations is to continue to improve your housing diversification. And I think it's interesting you had a project brought to you right this evening that does that very thing. And we're suggesting that's going to be important to the growth and the diversification of Springfield, is to have an increased housing diversification opportunity for your workforce community, but also to continue to bring investment into your community. This here again was exemplified pretty well tonight. An older building that had kind of sit dormant is now being used for a mixture of housing types, and we think that's a good thing. You want to see more of that. So before I go on to the transportation side of the plan, I wanted to pause and find out if there's any questions about economic recommendations. Okay, I will continue to kind of roll into some of the other topics then. The other thing we looked at was transportation. And here again, just three kind of high-level recommendations I'm going to point out. One is the removal of Route 840 from your major thoroughfare plan. You're not going to see that happen in my lifetime or any of your lifetimes. So that was really no longer a factor in your transportation model. So we removed that from the plan. At the same time, we looked at improving what I'm going to call kind of your collector loop around the city. And you'll see that in those big dotted lines. And really, that's just a continuation of the same kind of pattern yet you've started with, with William Batson Highway. You want to continue that collector around the city, especially the belt on the south side, because that's going to be key to allowing your transportation to keep moving. It is going to provide the access you need to some of those primary commercial uses that you're going to want to see happen. So this, this big 840 dash line, that's gone, but now you'll see there's a continuation of what we call that collector loop and a continuation of some of the grid that you're going to want to continue to focus on in the future. Another thing that we did is highlight the need to continue to really strengthen your Main Street. We think that Main Street coming in from the south, this is a gateway in your community. It has more potential. We're now calling this a major arterial, and that opens the door for you to get some emphasis even for some multimodal opportunities. When I say multimodal, make it a corridor that not only moves cars, but moves people walking, people biking, even connecting to the bus system that you have that goes into Nashville. So that's another big idea that we said is really important. Make that Main Street a major arterial, strengthen its ability to serve not only automobiles but pedestrians and bikes. And then the other thing that we highlighted was the need to look at your access plan. When I say that access plan, I mean the type of access points you have coming off some of your major collectors and arterials. Make sure that they're strategically located. You can work with TDOT on that on your state highways, but the city itself may even want to look at what kind of policies you can adopt to eliminate just a continual thread of accesses all along your major collectors, because that really bogs down traffic. Those are where you have the highest incident rates when it comes to possible accidents or injuries. And then the last thing was just to, as much as you can, preserve the historic grid of your downtown area, and as it's expanding out, look for ways to connect between neighborhoods, between land uses. I know this is always a challenge. People want to live on cul-de-sacs, they want to live on dead-end streets, but the more you do that, the more you load up your collector and arterials, and that's where your traffic pattern starts to get really congested. So what we've suggested as much as you can is anytime you add new land uses, add new streets, try to connect them as many places as you can to your existing street grid. You've got pretty good street grid in your core. You're starting to lose it on your perimeter. And you can see that if you look at your maps, there's a lot more dead-end streets. So those were our transportation recommendations. Any questions about that part of the comprehensive plan? All right, I'll dive into the land use recommendations next. You've got a whole new map to look at that's not just a zoning map that has these new categories of land use. Three things that we really highlighted in the land use is, number one, you want your growth patterns to be concentric. What that means is, growing from your downtown, from your core, you've had a lot of linear growth that's kind of happened along 431. You can see that as you've annexed properties out on 41, 431. We're encouraging you to continue to create more density in your core, within your kind of urban growth area, and create a higher mixture of uses there. Really, there's only one of two patterns that a city will see as they grow as much as you're going to start to grow, and that's you either sprawl out or you kind of focus inward and get a little more density in towards your core. The reason we say that the density model towards your core is better is it prevents you from having to continue to extend services out, roadways, utility infrastructure that costs more to maintain. And that's a growth pattern that we're suggesting that the concentric pattern would be good for the city. Another thing is related to land use is you'll see there's some green areas out here along the edge of the city land uses, and we're saying that's an agrarian belt. There was a lot of discussion about the value that your community has as a rural community, as an agrarian rooted community. So we're suggesting those green areas kind of create an agrarian belt that highlights that experience as you come into the city. That's something you'll have to work with the county on, and you have to keep looking at, the edges. But as much as you can preserve that beautiful experience that you currently have as a city when you're coming in, and as much as that reflects the character and kind of the vibe that everybody said they wanted to keep, that's something that we put into that land use pattern. And the last thing that I'm highlighting related to land use in these recommendations is, as you get maybe some of those projects that I've suggested, mixture of uses, amenities, using your new zoning district, your specific plan zoning district, your PUD district, ask for some things. Ask for some things to be included in that development package. You've created an environment here where developers want to come, they want to build. It's a favorable community that people want to be part of. Don't be afraid to ask for some things as part of that density. So I've said you want a good amount of mixture of uses and density related to your downtown, close to downtown. Well, at the same time, ask for, getting some of those things like pocket parks or community centers or greenway connections, even, asking for a certain style of architecture. Don't be afraid to ask for that, because that should be something that is a fair question to ask for. So that's kind of the last thing in the land use category that we've highlighted as a key factor. And we hope that we've given you some tools to help you do that, to help ask for those things. I'm going to talk about parks a little bit further down the road. But there again, you've invested into, you're going to very near future invest a lot of dollars into your sanitary sewer plant upgrade. You've spent some money on your roadway networks on 431 going to the south. You've done a beautiful job on your park system and your greenway. So as the city's invested, it's fair to ask developers to come in to be a part of that partnership and invest in some of those things as well. All right. Any questions about land use? The next category I'm going to touch on is utilities and emergency services. I think that, you know, you have, there again, invested quite a bit into expanding some of your utilities. Your water system goes far beyond your urban growth and your city boundary. Not a bad thing, because you've asked for the fees to help maintain that system. But I would suggest you want to take a real hard look at how much more of that expansion you want to do outside your city limit. The reason for that is the more you expand out of the city limit, the more of that water capacity you're going to start to give away to the surrounding communities that you're helping to serve. There's going to come a day when the city of Springfield is probably going to want some of that water capacity. You're not there yet, but I would look at it very seriously. The other thing is that your operating and maintaining costs increase. The further you get out from your core, the further you expand that system, the more it's going to cost. Now, there again, you can ask for those fees to be self-maintaining, and right now they are. In fact, about 30% of your city budget is kind of tied into utilities. You're covering the cost of those utilities, you're maintaining them now, but as this system ages, as surrounding communities ask for more, you want to, it's a fair thing to strike a balance and reserve some of that water capacity for your own growth. We strongly recommend the continued implementation of the fire station that you've identified on the south side of the city. We think that, quite honestly, you might even need another one more towards the southwest in the not too distant future. And then the last thing is related to your city staff and your facilities. So it's easy as the city grows just to expect that the staff you have is going to be able to just kind of keep expanding to meet that growth as well. What you want to do is you want to plan for a growth of your staff in incremental versions as the city grows. So right now, you're quite honestly probably stretched at capacity, and it's easy to see a new facility go in and think, well, we paid for the cost now, right? We've got the infrastructure in place, we've got the facilities in place. Every time you add a new facility, every time you add new developments, you need to think about how you're adding to the city staff as well to meet that demand. So that's it as far as utilities and emergency services. Any questions on that topic? Yes, sir.
I'd like to back up to the transportation part, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
A better way to get to 65, like on 76, or did I miss something there, or is that in the plan? Or?
You're saying like increase the roadway capacity around 76?
Yeah,
as it's
get
headed
to 65.
There is nothing currently on TDOT's radar. That's a state route, so that you'd have to work with them as well as some surrounding communities. There's nothing, most of the money has been focused and has started to improve 431. There's no reason that you couldn't start looking at improving 76. I know obviously the interchange itself, there's been some investment in there. Right now, that's a pretty long haul, before you get to the interstate. And I would say that if you want to start looking at that, now is the time to start discussing that with TDOT. The fact that you have this plan, the fact that you've talked about that collector roadway system and these major routes coming in and out, gives you something to bring to the table and discuss with them. But as of right now, that's not something on any of the immediate projects that have been identified that would.
Have my fingers crossed for that one.
I'm sorry.
So I have my fingers crossed. For
Yes,
that
sir.
one.
Yes, sir. Well,
That would be a major advantage if you could get from 41 to 76, which
I think
you've
so,
got
too.
the little yellow dotted line there, which
right.
is
That would
that's a
help.
potential.
The connecting the two would be a huge advantage for you as a city. Here again, now's the time to bring those discussions to TDOT as you look for, contributions that you would want to make in the fact that you're showing those collector routes connecting your state routes. You say, well, TDOT, we'd like to have you consider some improvements to Route 76. Let's get that on the table. Now's the time, because, the interesting thing about state routes and those improvements, and you've probably seen it on 431, it takes a good 2 or 3 years even to get the grant cycle and the application in place. It takes another 10 years to actually build your roadway out. So from the time that you initially get the grant money and the funding in place to the time you typically are sending in the last acknowledgement of completion. In fact, that's something that Robert works with at TDOT, and he can speak to that. It's a pretty lengthy process, so it doesn't hurt to start asking that
If I'm
question.
not mistaken, long time ago, there was talk of possibly a racetrack coming in that area, and, people started talking about all the possibilities of that area just really just growing and getting to 65, but I guess it just fizzled out.
Right now, there's a long stretch in between communities, but you can see that the development is starting to trickle in, and that's only going to continue, so. But where we're saying, you can focus on this connector now, that will continue the efforts you've had. That's a very good plan. That'll help the argument, to have the state come back and help you with Route 76. Did I answer your question, sir?
That's it.
Okay. All right. The last topic I'll touch on is parks and natural resources. You recently had a very well-done comprehensive park and recreation plan. As I said, your park system is really a jewel. It's for a community your size. You achieve very high marks in the facilities you have, the greenway system you have. And that's part of the reason that people want to come to Springfield. So you'll want to continue that. But one thing that you are lacking in somewhat is some of the smaller neighborhood parks as the growth continues in the south and the southeast side of your city. You can look at the map in the comprehensive plan. You'll see that there are some gaps there. And I'm not talking about necessarily, duplicating really large communities or athletic field type park, but those are the areas that could use some more neighborhood parks, walkable parks, parks that are integrated into some of your new land development plans. And then, any way that you can connect the parks, continue to connect with your greenway system, we highly recommend. That's a way to get leverage for the existing parks you have, is when you connect them. It's been proven that that's becomes not only a transportation hub, but a recreational hub and a social connection. I call greenways kind of the new Main Street of your city. It's amazing how many people you'll see, walking on the greenways, and how much diversity and excitement there is in social interaction. So it's a cultural benefit as well as a recreational and health benefit. And then the last thing on the parks is, I've tapped on it a little bit, but don't be afraid to ask for, as developments come in, some of that land that can be dedicated to small neighborhood parks. Or there again, if there's a pool or community clubhouse that's part of that community as it's built, that relieves some of the pressure on your existing park system. And there again, as far as the staffing goes, it relieves some of the pressure on your existing staff if some of those facilities are integrated into your future growth. So that's my summary. I'm happy to dive into those topics or any more that you might see in the plan, and happy to hand it back over to you, Kimberly, too, if there's anything you want to add to that.
I just have a comment. I'll compliment you all on this, and I know the open house had a lot of people here. They were giving a lot of input, and I see a lot of the input reflected in the plan. So this is an important vision for our future and has been, I think, really needed for a while. So good job.
Any other questions? Is there a motion to recommend adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, and Justin, you have a second?
Totally good.
Bob?
Townsend,
Yes.
Gregg,
Yes.
Richard,
Yes.
Bibb,
Yes.
Poole,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
passes with 9.
All right, under other and old business, BZA meeting June the 11th at 5.
Yes, sir. There are 3 items on the agenda. We have 2 conditional uses and a variance. The 2 conditional uses, we are just trying to clean up some of the zoning violations, shall you say. But it's for, one is 2614 South Main Street. It's the Robin Hood Apartments. They're just looking for conditional use to get a grant. So they're looking to upgrade the Robin Hood Apartments. So that'll help them. TAS Environmental Services, we're also just getting them up to compliance. Variance is going to be on John L. Patterson. And it's a lot of records, so it's a small lot. They're looking to do some building on that.
Okay, and we are also invited on June the 11th for a training session, and that's immediately following BZA.
Yes, sir. Yes. We have our training session, again, is going to be with Samuel Edwards. If you've been there, you know he's really good. I did send you the link so from the last meeting, so you have a chance to look at that. Please form some questions. He's always available. He wants you to ask questions, let's put it that way. So that helps drive the conversation. This is a 2-hour training, so it'll be from 6 to 8. BZA is meeting at 5. We're going to have dinner ready for you at 5:30. So if you have not completed the survey form, please fill that out. And that's what I recommend at this point. That's all I have for the training session. Now, in conclusion.
I want
I
to
just-
invite everybody to, up on the square tomorrow night.
That's right. First Friday market is tomorrow night. Are you playing?
Yeah.
Oh, and you're playing? Yes, there you go. You have to come. You got to support them.
Right.
Great. And the final, just for you guys to let you know, I have given my resignation last week. What? But I'll be here until the end of June. So if you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. I'm handling some family matters. So, but with that being said, also, it has been a true pleasure working with each and every one of you. So, and I appreciate your professionalism and your faith in my abilities. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you've done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate you, Tim.
Yeah.
Really?
Thank you.
You really know how to crash a party. We was having a good time.
I'm sorry. But I'll be here for next month, so, and I'll see you at training, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. That's all I have, sir.
All right, well, we hate to lose you. We understand too. Is there anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.